Hello, welcome to the podcast version of The Poet, written by Robert R. Ricks and read by the author with Irene Ricks as Officer Castillo and Rod Sias as Agent Sias. The story contains mature content and harsh language. There may be some content which may offend some listeners. If you're easily offended, please stop listening now. Thank you for checking this out. This episode is brought to you by Zydeco Online. Here we go. Chapter 4. The blade glinted and his eyes were fixed on it. I slowly walked over, and when I was within striking distance, I saw his body stiffen in anticipation. I twisted the blade in my hand and watched a faint light flash across his face. The man before me was stripped naked and bound tightly to a metal chair. The chair had a small opening in it to allow his privates to hang freely. Small beads of sweat began to trickle down his forehead, which surprised me a bit considering it was under 30 degrees in the freezer we were in. I smiled at him and allowed the full gravity of what was to come to register in his mind. His name was Peter Wong, and he was a high-ranking member of the Triad. Now I need you to listen to me very carefully. He slowly nodded. Good. You're in luck. You have some information I need, and that makes you pretty valuable. Now your value can increase if you play your cards right. I have a lot invested in you already, and I'd hate to have to recruit another Triad. I need to know how close Shamong is to finishing the device. His eyes widened a bit as I knew I hit a nerve. Yes, I know of the device. I need to know a few things. A small knock at the door, and I excused myself and opened it. The soldier was there holding a small glass case that I had requested from my car. I took the case, and the soldier spun on his heels and was gone. Sorry about that. Where were we? I placed a small glass case down on the table, and there were hundreds of small brown spiders scurrying around. There was a small opening on the top large enough to allow an arm or something smaller to be inserted into it. It was sealed with a thin membrane which prevented the spiders from escaping. I noticed he shuffled uneasily in his chair. You scared of spiders? I asked, knowing he was. I remembered reading somewhere that the number 2 phobia of people were spiders. Number 1 was snakes. Snakes worked pretty well, but the spiders had worked better. He nodded quickly. I turned to put the knife down and lifted the glass case up and placed it near his face so he could see them clearly. These are known as brown recluse spiders. Some call them fiddleback spiders. They are known as Loxas ls reclusa. You can't really find them here in California. They're pretty common in Texas, though, which is where we gathered our first batch. We had to breed in some extra meanness to help them get to bite more. After several attempts, we developed these. You see, the bite of brown recluse doesn't really hurt. The venom, though, is very interesting. Do you know what necrosis of the skin is? He slowly shook his head. Well, let me explain. I put the case down and pulled up a chair and straddled it. At first the bite doesn't hurt, but after about 6 hours you start to feel this itchy burning sensation. 24 hours later, after the pain has increased steadily, the necrosis begins. And there's usually other symptoms like fever, vomiting, muscle and joint pain. But the effect we're really after is the necrosis. You see, necrosis is basically your skin dying and rotting away. Necrosis can grow pretty big. I think the largest I ever saw was 9 inches across. Now I know the whole time we've been here chatting, you've wondered, why the hell am I sitting on a chair with a hole in it? He nodded. Well, if I'm gonna allow my little friends there a chance to hang out with your little friends there, I need a nice clean way of doing it without running the risk of getting them on me. I glanced down and he shifted uncontrollably. And I can see you're hanging fairly decently, but I'm pretty sure losing 9 inches of skin down there would pretty much ruin your life. Yes? I put the small glass case on the floor in front of him and loosened some straps at the bottom of the chair. The straps would easily be able to hook the glass case up to the chair flush. Now, I'm going to remove your gag, and we're going to talk a bit. I loosened the gag and pulled it free. His lips cracked and bled slightly as I did so. He licked his lips and breathed deeply. I grabbed a glass of water which had been sitting on a table and gently put it to his mouth. He drank deeply and nodded. Okay, now you've had a little drink, let's play. Let's make a deal. He swallowed. How far away is Shamong from having a working prototype? I could see the internal struggle in him. They will kill me. I know, but that's only if they find you. If you don't do what I ask, you'll wish you were dead. He weighed his options and I could see him hesitating. Okay, I have a date shortly, and you're gonna make me late. I hate being late, and more importantly, she hates when I'm late. So, we're going to speed this up. I strapped the case on the chair and made a face and glanced up at him. Wow, that one wasted no time jumping up. Can you feel it? He started shaking wildly in the chair. No, I wouldn't do that. You're making things much more inviting by moving. I would try to be as still as possible. Now, where were we? The prototype is already built. We've had 2 successful tests. I grinned. I had already known that fact, but needed to make sure he was telling me the truth. Where's the prototype at? He was biting his lips so hard blood ran freely. I glanced down and sure enough, 2 of the spiders had managed to climb up onto him. I had lied about the one earlier, but this time he could feel him. The docks in Oakland. I know you know the ones we control. I nodded. That was very helpful. It narrowed it down. How many guarding it? Just one. He was trying to control his breathing, and I could see the veins in his head as he fought to stay still. I paused. Oh, you can't be serious. Please don't tell me Shimong trusted the security of the device to one man. He nodded, and I knew it could only be one person. Long Chen. Again he nodded. How large is the device? He smiled at me, and I threw my hands up in disgust. Let me guess. Inside Long Chen? He nodded. I've told you what you wanted. Get him off me! My cell vibrated, and I glanced at the clock, which told me it was 9:05 p.m. Hang on a sec. I got a call coming in. I pulled the gag back up, and he started grunting. Glancing down, I could see there were at least 6 spiders crawling on him. I slid the lock off the phone and answered quickly. Hello, this is Agent Torres.
Hi, Agent Torres. This is Officer Castillo.
I grinned as I heard her voice. Well, hello there, officer. What can I do for you?
I'm just confirming our meeting later this evening.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Hey, how's your head feeling?
Like I was hit upside the head with a sledgehammer. But I'm fine. Nothing a little TLC couldn't fix.
Peter started fidgeting more, and I glanced over, irritated by his interruption. I noticed most of the spiders are no longer visible in the case. Oh my, I said, somewhat surprised.
Hey, what's going on?
One of my troopers is getting sick. I banged on the freezer door, and when it opened, a tall, slender soldier was there. His skin was smooth and the color of caramel. He had dreads which weren't normally allowed. Justice had allowed for an exception for this soldier because of what he had survived. Agent Science glanced at Peter with a shocked look on his face. I leaned in close to him as I put the cell out of earshot. He's done. Go ahead and finish him off and make sure no one finds his body. Oh, and can you relay a message to the doc? Tell him his spiders are too fucking mean now. Agent Science walked past me and stood in front of Peter, who was pleading with tear-filled eyes. As the door closed, I could just barely hear Agent Science say, Just following orders, man. I lifted back the phone and continued my conversation. Everything's fine now. Agent Science is taking care of him as we speak. So, what did you have in mind as far as the TLC?
I'm sure we can figure something out.
I laughed at that, and behind me I heard the faint sound of a single gunshot. Yes, I'm sure we will. I'll pick you up at your place around 10:30.
Sounds like a plan.
I hung the phone up and headed back to my place to change.